Well, I guess I'll go ahead and start since we're a couple minutes behind. So first of all, thank you for doing this. Patrick is our director or our membership chair for our KWIP Triangle chapter. So he helps reach out to new members and gets them onboarded and just makes them feel welcome. And so we appreciate you. So at first, just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into real estate, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'll open with a few remarks myself too. I just want to say thanks for you guys for inviting me. This is, you probably don't know this, but as I fiddle with my screen here and get all situated, this is kind of big for me. Like I kind of feel like I have imposter syndrome. Like I don't belong up here saying like coffee with a mega, right? Because Becca, like so many people up here do way more business than I do. And so it's an honor for me. And also what you don't know is that I've been on the verge of trying to figure out, I joke what I want to be when I grow up, right? Which I think a lot of us in real estate have come into this from another angle. And so I've had about 6 years of making a great living in real estate, but not having the life balance that I want and trying to reevaluate, am I going to stay with the structure? Am I going to grow? And so thanks to really putting some thoughts on paper, I've got like 5 pages of notes here, but don't worry, I'm not going to talk forever. Famous last words. This is really good for me. So I'm not necessarily just going to sit here and give you all my tips for like the 7 secrets to the perfect open house and 11 door knocking scripts to get you an appointment every single time. It's not going to be like that because honestly, like that content is out there already. You could, if you're with KW, and if you're not, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. But if you're with KW, you have access to this whole library of resources, right? And people that do it way better than I do. And so kind of like what Becca said, I mean, I have 3 main goals that I want to share. And then obviously whatever Q&A you guys want, my time is your time. So I want to share my story of how I got here today, like kind of where I am, just like Becca asked me, what ceiling I'm hitting right now and how I plan to break through it. And then, tips for you guys to do the same. So we'll definitely talk about some real estate tips, but does that sound good to you guys? You don't have to unmute, but give me a thumbs up if that sounds like a good use of your time this morning. So we'll be talking a lot about like mindset and motivation and how I got to where I am, because that really applies to everyone. Not that I'm a master at that either, but that's just kind of what I felt compelled to share. So story-wise, let's see here. I was a military kid, moved around a lot. Any other military kids here? You just raise your hand if you're a military kid. I'm clicking through. Can't really see everyone. And by the way, thanks so much everyone for being here. So many of these names and faces I know and love, and it means a lot that you guys want to come listen to me this morning.
If you're not driving, get on camera so Patrick can see your face.
Yeah, I'm a big extrovert, and so it does give me vibes to see people. Or maybe you just came to throw hardballs at me and just see me squirm under awkward questions. So if that's the case, then you're welcome also. I grew up as a military kid, which means I moved around a lot. For lack of a better term, lived overseas a few times, which was super cool. That's a really important experience to me, something I want to give my kids as well. I came to Raleigh to study architecture here at NC State, go Wolfpack. I grew up a lifelong Tar Heel fan, and then I married a Tar Heel. So it's like I got Wolfpack sandwiched in between 2 big parts of being a Tar Heel. And then I studied architecture, but I realized around junior year, whoa, this is really cool, right? But the industry is not what I thought it was. Like I love buildings and I love design and I love artwork, but this industry is different. And I'm not sure that I want to sit behind a computer. I'm not sure that I want to do all the work that architecture actually requires. Kind of like real estate, right? You get your license and then you're like, holy crap, like, what do I actually do with this? I have no idea. And so I'd been involved as a student in a campus ministry, kind of as like a Bible study leader and stuff like that. And so we had the staff worker and actually went on staff with the organization, a nonprofit. So they ask you to do a 4-year commitment, kind of like going to the Army, you're doing the Peace Corps. And so I was like, I don't know that this is my career either, but I want to try it. I want to check it out. This is something I'm passionate about. It'd be a good way for me to give back. And I had to fundraise my income all 4 years, which was incredibly difficult. And I don't think I ever made more than 20,000 on my tax returns in a single year, those first 4 years out of college. But, I was doing something I was passionate about, right? And so one of the things that I learned in that is that I didn't translate well from being this college student who does the activities to being a manager who now is managing college students, because it was very much a student-led movement. And so that was one of my first tastes of learning about my skills as now as a realtor, right? Someone trying to build a business. And so that was hard for me. It was hard to walk away from that and kind of feel like a failure, right? Like, man, I was good at it when I was a student, but I didn't translate as well into being a manager. And so I met my wife the last, or I guess in year 3 of my contract. She and I dated long distance, and then she moved up to Boone where I was working. By the way, I worked in Charleston my first year, which was like the best year ever, being in downtown Charleston as like a 22-year-old. Just one of the most beautiful cities and such a cool campus. And then I got assigned, my 3-year placement was at Appalachian State. And so I was working at Boone up in the mountains, and then met my wife. She came into town for a birthday party. And I'll tell you real briefly, it was a themed classy or trashy party. And she and I were the only trashy ones that showed up for like the first hour. So we bonded over that. Everyone else was dressed all beautiful with suit and tie and pearls and everything. And we had cut off jeans that were way too high. And so we bonded over that. But yeah, so then she helped me really realize that 3rd year of my contract that she's like, I don't think this is for you. I can tell that you love it and you're passionate about it, but it's not what you're good at. The fundraising is really hard. It's not giving you life. And so let's look at some other options. And so we got married. And I was working at Starbucks for a while, which was very hard. But again, I learned some more people skills there. I got a few job offers from tourists. They're like, well, if you ever want to move to this really remote town in Georgia, I'm the mayor and I'd love to give you a job. And I was like, no, thanks. That's really cool, but no, thanks. And so then I actually got recruited into real estate. The way I call it was kind of kicking and screaming. I had this architecture degree and thought real estate was this like, sleazy sales job, right? I was like, no, I would never do that. And it was actually one of my students who I worked with at App State who helped kind of recruit me into it. He's like, hey man, I don't care. Like my mom's a lot like you. She's a really successful realtor down in Raleigh. You just go check it out. Like I got no skin in the game, right? And so, so after a few months of being freshly married and working at Starbucks, I was like, maybe I should think about other options. And so I talked to my wife, I called this realtor on the phone. Her name was Betsy Simmons. Many of you will know who she is. She's an amazing woman who used to be with KW for a while, is now independent. And we spent probably an hour on the phone, and she said, yeah, I think you should come down to Raleigh and let's spend a day together. And so we had a whole day scheduled. In the morning, we were going to do some showings, have lunch, and then the afternoon, we were going to debrief. And honestly, by lunchtime, I was like, yo, this is awesome. Peace out. Like I'm going back to my brand new wife. Like I miss her. It was literally the first night I'd ever spent away from her since we got married. So I was like, I got to go back to Boone. But I knew I wanted to do it because what I saw in her was she was a trustworthy person. She's not a salesperson. And then I thought, oh, I can do this, with my architecture background and my people, nonprofit work, stuff like that. I think this would be a good fit for me. And I clearly didn't need any money since I hadn't been making much at all. And so, because I had been, I had heard, you might not make much your first year, obviously. So fast forward, I start taking a pre-licensing class. I did get a full-time job doing social media at a really big nonprofit. And then I would leave work 30 minutes early at like 4:30 or 4, I think. And then drive an hour and 15 minutes to take a 4-hour real estate class in the evenings at a community college, and then drive an hour and 15 minutes back and get home at like 11:30 or 12 every night after class and go back to work the next day. And then the plan was, hey, maybe we'll move to Raleigh. We've always loved Raleigh. If we ever have kids in the future, LOL, we want to raise them in a big city, a little more diversity, and we just the energy of a city, right? And I thought, one of my thoughts was, well, maybe I'll start a real estate business in Boone. And once it gets up and running and we have some money, then we can move, which is hilarious to move right when your real estate business gets clicking. Thankfully, we made the jump to move to Raleigh. And we actually had to move in with some friends of ours because we like honestly couldn't afford health insurance and rent. Like that's how much little we had saved up. And so we moved in with some friends of ours till my wife, and so surprise, my wife got pregnant halfway through my real estate licensing class. And that totally changed the plans. We thought, man, we can't quit both of our jobs and start back over with building a business. And so we thought, you know what, we had about 4 months of savings if we spent like zero money possible, while also trying to build a business, which takes money, obviously. And then, so we had 4 months of savings and the baby was due in 4 months. And we're like, you know what, screw it. Let's just try it and see if it works. And then the fallback plan was to move in with my in-laws in Greensboro with a brand new baby in a really small house. And I was not about to do that. And honestly, as you'll learn through my story, my like natural vice is laziness, is to just chill out and not do anything. And so that was what I needed. Like if we moved to Raleigh and my wife had a sweet tech job or something, and I was just getting started in real estate and I didn't have a motivating factor, I would have never succeeded like I have, because I would have had the privilege of being lazy, but there was no other option other than succeeding in this. And so that's really a big part of my story. And then, we can talk more about the details, but real briefly, I started out that first like 6 months that we were here, didn't really have much going on in the way of clients. And so then I started to just show up to my market center wearing like a suit and tie, way more rigid than I am now. And I signed up for Bold with Keller Williams, which is like a big 8-week long sales training course, sales and mindset. And it's so funny now because at the time I thought it was so like frou-frou positivity. Like, what is all this mumbo jumbo about feelings and energy? And now it's like one of my absolute favorite things. But I signed up for that. And through, I think, just seeing agents like Ahmed and Jade, who were on this call, who were like really established older agents who saw me and were like, hey, this guy Patrick's showing up. You know, he's probably pretty trustworthy. Let's talk to him. And they gave me a few overflow leads, like I like to call them. Hey, work this buyer and we'll split it 50-50. It's like a one-time buyer's agent for hire. And so I took all those that I could get. My first commission check it was like $860 or something. And it was the hardest transaction I've ever worked on to date. My dollar per hour on that was like so low, but I learned so much from it. And I didn't care because I didn't care if I had to pay money, but all I had to do was stand there with a sign that said sold and post it on Facebook. And that was my proof of concept. And then I was off to the races after that. And so I was able to sell about 10 homes that first like 6 months that I was in the business. And then my first calendar year jumped up immediately to like 24. And honestly, I've kind of hovered. I plateaued there for like 4 years, I think. It was like 24, 27 units, 25, 28. And then last year we sold like 34 or 36. You can tell I know my numbers like really well, right? And then we were hovering for a while around like 6 to 8 million, and then or 6 to 7 million. And then 2 years ago we jumped up to 9 million. Last year we jumped up to 12. Year to date we're at like about 11 million, I think. So we'll hopefully end up closer to 14 or 15. Not quite the growth I was hoping for earlier in the year. But we've just had a very busy summer with kids and travel and not building the business. And we can talk more about that. So that's a lot bit of where I am today. Becca, I'm gonna throw it back to you so I don't talk too long.
You're great. You're great. So I guess like you told us a little bit about tell us about how you built your business and what are your main sources of business today?
Yep. So the very first way I built my business was just showing up because I had no idea what to do. I remember sitting in a class when I didn't even have my MLS access yet. Like, you know, I joined the KW and they're like, okay, now you have to join the TMLS. I was like, oh, no one told me this. So I went to TMLS. They're like, oh yeah, our next orientation class is in 3 weeks. And I was like, what the hell? I need to get started. I got a baby on the way, guys. So I start going to classes, right, in the meantime. And then I see this agent, Ricardo Cobos. If Ricardo is on this call, I love you for this. He raised his hand and said, hey, I'd love to do an open house. And I looked at him and I was like, you're a new agent. How are you allowed to do that? I don't know how to do that. But what I saw him was he just was willing to say yes. And so that has been, I mean, this is why I wore this shirt today, just to do it. You guys see that? It's my like 1980s Nike shirt. I had so much imposter syndrome. Like this morning, I was even like, maybe I should wear this morning. So I like hung it on the back of my chair so you guys wouldn't see it. But Ricardo, that's why I wore this, just to get out of my own head. And like, sure, I'm going to wear a bright green t-shirt on the Zoom call this morning that I feel self-conscious about. But Ricardo was like, hey, I want to do an open house. And I was like, I don't even have my MLS access. He was like, well, are you a licensed realtor? I was like, yeah. He said, well, someone will open the door for you and then lock it up. You don't have to know the lockbox code to do an open house. And so go find a client. So I go to do this open house like 45 minutes away in Selma or Smithfield or something like that. I had no idea where the hell I was. And these folks walked in and they were really sweet, young couple. And they toured the house and said, this is really great. We'd actually really love to buy this. Can you help us write an offer? And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, you know, I haven't ever sold anything, right? And they said, well, the problem is we actually need to sell our house first. Can you help us with that too? And so I immediately was like, can you guys hang on a second? I literally like just left. I walked outside and I called Betsy Simmons and I said, Betsy, I have no idea what to do. These folks want to sell their house and then buy. And so that's all that to say, for me, it was just getting into situations because you'll figure it out, right? If you're, no matter what phase you're at in your business, if you're selling 20 million a year and you want to take on a builder, but you're terrified, I don't know how to sell a new home community. Just put yourself out there. You're going to figure it out. If you jump off, you're going to build the parachute on the way down, right? And so that was the way I built my business. And that's a long story to say that just getting out there and networking with other agents and saying yes to opportunities and then doing open houses is honestly how I built it. And then you guys remember I went to NC State here in Raleigh. Thankfully, Raleigh is a huge town with a great economy. So when I moved back 5 years after college, everyone was still here, plus more. So like all my groomsmen, my wife's bridesmaids. So I had a database here. And so Becca, to answer your question on how I built my business early on, once I got those first few like overflow leads from other agents and did a few open houses and got some closings from that, posting every single thing on Facebook that I was doing. Like I wish I had posted earlier, like while I was taking my real estate class. Hey, I just took my exam, but I'm very much a private person with stuff like that because I'm afraid that, well, what if I post about real estate class, but then I fail my exam? Or what if I post about this cool development of my business, but then it ends up not going well? And then I put that out there, and so I wish I had done more documentation, but after a few months of that, then my database started to be like, oh, okay, it looks like this guy, Patrick, might actually be legit in this industry, because we all know plenty of people who start businesses and then flame out, right? And everyone knows a realtor who's gotten it and then flamed out. And so honestly, that's why I joined YP. That's why I talk to you guys, is to help prevent that, is to help people build the life they want to build in this industry that has so much possibility. And so, yeah, so open houses and networking with other agents. And then once I had that proof of concept, Becca, then my database started to trust me more.
I love that. I think just like you said, just putting yourself out there and like doing the actions, even if it doesn't turn out good, I think just putting it out into the universe, like usually you're going to get something from it, whether it's indirectly or, it just compounds. So I love that.
Sure. Yep. I just clicked through all the listeners, by the way, and I saw my friend Antonio Barbosa from Portugal is on the call. So bom dia, meu amigo Antonio. I love you. How are you, buddy? Thanks. Keep going, Becca. Just wanted to throw a shout out.
Oh yeah, you're good. So what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in your real estate career, and what did you learn from it?
You guys got a few hours? You want to listen? Just kidding. If I could boil it down to one single mistake that I've made a bunch of times, it is not following up fast enough. It's not being a responsive enough agent. Even if that response is, hey, I'm tied up, I'll get back to you tomorrow. That text alone would probably have saved me close to $100,000 in commissions that I've lost through just not being quick enough to reply to clients. And it's such a balance to walk in this business, because you don't have to answer your texts all the time. You can set up boundaries, and we all should. And at the same time, we're providing very, very high touch service to our clients. And so I always feel self-conscious. Even, I'll see the text come through at 9:15 at night. And even if I don't answer it and I put it off till tomorrow, it will still give me anxiety. It'll still throw off my evening. And so setting up those boundaries and training my clients well, the thing is, I get nervous about not responding to it at 9:15 at night, because I don't necessarily know in the morning if I'm going to remember to go back and respond to it. And so I need to set up better systems. Like every morning, or probably twice a day, I need to be going through all my texts just to make sure I haven't missed one. I don't do a good job of that. And so that's by far the biggest mistake I've made in my business, is not being responsive and thorough enough with my follow-up.
I think we could all definitely attest to that at some point. So let's see. How do you keep yourself motivated?
Yeah, so that has been one of my biggest problems. And the reason being is that real estate pretty quickly within those first few years reached a level of sustainability financially. And if you don't have something pulling you to the next level, why would you move? If you're comfortable, what's the reason to go to the next level? And so that's a lot of what I've printed off. Some notes here that I was staying up way too late last night. You can probably see the bags under my eyes. I was typing till like midnight, just processing my story. So even if I didn't share all these notes with you guys, I'm so thankful for this opportunity and for you guys being here, because it's made me reflect on who I am and what I want to be. And like you said, Becca, what motivates me. So for me, it's so I'm gonna get into that. And I'm gonna look at my notes here and get a little story going on. I one time called an agent. I showed a buyer a listing, and my buyer didn't like it, but I noticed something about the listing. I forget what it was. It was either a broken window or a little leak. And I called the agent real quick. Hey, this is Patrick. It was a voicemail. Hey, this is Patrick with Keller Williams. Hope you're doing well. I just showed your property. My buyer isn't interested, but I just wanted to give you a courtesy. There's like a leak under the kitchen sink or something like that. And something about it, she called me back immediately and was like, hey, thank you so much. That's really cool. Can we get coffee? And I was like, what in the world? And it was ended up being a husband and wife, actually a successful team within our brokerage, and they were recruiting me to join their team. And this was probably only 2 or 3 years ago. So I was very, established in my career. I was very satisfied as an individual agent, but I'm always looking to connect. And they were asking me all these questions. And then at one point they said, so what do you do what does your day look like? And I said, wake up, check my email, check my texts. And, if my clients don't need anything, I hang out and kind of just wait for the phone to ring, wait for someone to need me, and for me to then respond to a request. And I've literally never seen someone's jaws drop like about me, like their eyes got big. And it wasn't like they were like cartoon where their jaw was on the floor, but their mouth just kind of opened. They're like, oh, okay. And like, they were totally gone. Like they were no longer interested in me at all. And I get it. Like I would be the same way, because what they saw in that moment was that I had nothing motivating me. I was doing fine, right? Like I've got enough money. I've got a great kid. I think I had one kid at the time and a second one on the way. And so what they had noticed, I guess maybe my skills on the phone, and wanted to see, let's meet this guy in person and see if he's a potential candidate for our team. And I wouldn't have hired me or recruited me any further in that moment either, if I were in their shoes. And so now what I'm doing, and actually it's one of my commitments to you guys, I've got a few things I'm going to implement that I'm going to share with you guys this morning, that I'm going to add into my daily life and into my business. The first one of those is a vision board. Can I just see raise of hands if you've ever done a vision board before?
Okay. Mine is in front of my computer right now.
Look at this. I love this. So pretty much everyone who's on camera right now that doesn't have their head shut up, like, has raised their hand, and that's super cool. I've always heard about them, but I always assumed it was like scrapbooking, and I was like, nah. This ain't it. Like, I'm not about this scrapbooking life. This is some frou-frou mumbo jumbo. You know, you hear this again, right? My limiting belief around mindset and positivity. And then let me see what I wrote down about vision boards here. Had something written on my paper somewhere. I can't find it right now, but I'll find it in a minute. But basically, like, why would you not want to look at really awesome stuff every single day? You know, like, why would you not want in between breaks? Like, that's what I need. I need something to glance up and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's it. And so on my vision board, it's not even done yet, but that's my commitment to you guys, is that I'm going to finish my vision board either by the end of this week, maybe not today. And oh, Megan, I see what you said. You did your first one in December 2020 thing. It was so silly, and more than half of that has come to fruition. That's incredible in less than a year. That's super cool. And so for me, it's got things like some material possessions. It's got like a watch that I really want. It's got a like, I don't think I have a car on there, but it's got a sailboat. It's got an airplane, because I would love to get my pilot's license. And as you guys can tell, I'm such an energy kind of guy. I'm usually pretty high energy. And you can tell if I'm crashing and if I'm high or low. And so why wouldn't I want that energy every second that I can have it while I'm working? So that way, when I'm like deep on some Wikipedia trail about the history of linguistics in Eastern Europe or something, I can look up and be like, oh yeah, shoot, Patrick, don't Google the French language. Like keep working, follow up with your clients, so you can then shut down. And then, you know, in 10 years, you can be on a beach in France and read all the Wikipedia you want. And you can do that much earlier with your family. Or if you want, you can do it now, sure, but you're postponing the life you really want. And so for me, so much of it comes back to, if you're in KW, you're probably familiar with BOLD laws. And the first time I took BOLD, I was like, whoa, man, this is a lot of hot air. Like there's not much content and much sustenance here. But BOLD is business objectives, a life by design. And really, it's that life by design that I've clung on to, because that I didn't quite know that phrase, like how that phrase applied to me, until I added in the second part of the BOLD law, which is life by design, not by default. And that's the part that really got me, because that's how I live my days. Usually that's my tendency. That's what my default is. Wake up, and if my clients don't need anything, man, do I really want to go plan a client event? Do I really want to go knock on doors? We have enough money. We're doing fine. We're not like rolling in it and everything. But that for me is boiling it down to what do you want to design? And I think I'm really captivated by this idea of Memento Mori. Have you guys heard of that? Memento Mori. It basically means remember that you will die. And it's a lot of people, it's very famous. This is like an old Middle Ages Renaissance idea of Memento Mori. It's old Latin, I think. And it can manifest itself in different ways. A lot of people will put that's why you see a lot of skull tattoos on people. A lot of it's just this kind of, it looks grim, right? But at the same time, it's the reality of life. We're all going to die. No one here will live forever. So why would you not design the limited years that you have to be the ones that you want? And I think that growing up in a family that wasn't oriented around having a lot of money, very much a poverty mindset growing up, there was a lot of judgment toward wealth, toward material possessions. And so I never wanted to do a vision board, because I thought it was greedy. I thought it was, I'm just going to stare at pretty images all day long. And I had a very limiting belief about that. And so I'm honestly still unpacking that. And I'm still trying to figure out, what do I want my life to look like? Is this the life I want? And that's super cool. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So if anyone here is like, hey, Patrick, I like you, but I'm not here to change anything. I'm just here to listen and drink some coffee and get my day started. But I have a feeling that you guys are on this Zoom call because you're trying to grow your own life, right? You're trying to pursue something, whatever that is. It could be your first $1 million in sales, or it could be that you want to break 100 million in a year. And here I am at like 12 million this year talking to you guys. But really the truth applies to anyone with this mindset. So whether you need a memento mori in your life, you want to get a tattoo on your wrist, or you want to put, something in your house, it's a memento mori for you. It really comes down to this daily practice of remembering that you will die, not in a grim way, but in a beautiful way. So let's celebrate today and enjoy this while we can. Let's pursue everything that we can. So Becca, your question like 18 minutes ago was what motivates me. And what motivates me is trying to figure out how I want my life to be designed every single day. And I don't know the answer to that, because I still love to work. Like, I still love my clients, and I do want to transition out a little bit of the hands-on with clients. And I've had a taste of that with having a buyer's agent, which I haven't talked about my team yet, but I can talk about that as well. But that's kind of what motivates me right now is my vision board and figuring out what I want my life to look like.
I love that. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your team. And then I was going to ask, what is that next step for you? Like,
Yep.
What is your next big goal, or, the next 5 years look like?
Yep.
And I know maybe you're still figuring it out.
Yeah. And I'm back on my notes here now. I see where I was. So my team right now is, I've had an assistant, like an executive admin / marketing person off and on for a few years now. And I've had my third assistant. They've all left for good opportunities, or for, being a stay-at-home mom or something like that. And so Meredith is my assistant now. She works 30 hours a week. And we're trying to figure out if we can transition her into a role that more suits her skills. And those being more like client care and marketing and design, rather than like transactional, DocuSign and like compliance type stuff. And so I've actually talked with Megan about their realty leverage and like these different transaction coordination, like just systems that are in place that other people have done so much better that I can implement in my business. So that way Meredith can thrive more in her role, and then really maybe even be in a role that kind of works our database and just does touches. Hey, this is Meredith from Madigan Realty, just checking to see how you guys are. Dude, if I had someone who made 20 phone calls a day like that, you know how much more business we would have? Because I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that lead generation right now, and that we can get into that as well. And so Megan said, never miss those follow-ups again, right? With your clients, but also with your database too, just having someone, a transaction coordinator, to work the actual transactions, and then someone like Meredith to work the databases. So we're trying to implement stuff like that. And then I think maybe a year and a half ago, I found this younger agent in our firm named Devin, who was really hungry and wanted to learn. And so we just, like this, we'd have conversations, and I would, pour into him and try to help him out as much as I could, because people like, Ahmed and Betsy have done that with me over the years when I was younger. And then over time, I was like, hey man, can you go show a house for me? And I'd pay him $25 a house. And then over time, I was like, hey man, can you just show this client all the houses until they find one they want to write an offer on? And then I'll write the offer, because they might go see 20 houses, and that'll save a lot of time for me. He gets experience, he gets paid. And also I switched him over, instead of paying him per house, I incentivized him to also kind of sell the house. And so he started making 10% at closing as a showing assistant. And so then he wasn't getting any money in the meantime, which was way easier to keep track of than paying him $25, 20 times in a row. I would just say, hey, if you want to make a lot more money, let's just do 10% at closing. So, if that's a $600,000 commission, $6,000 commission, there's a $600 check for you, rather than, 5 $25 checks. And so he was really stoked about that. And then over time, I've started to trust him with writing offers. And then I realized, hey, whoa, you're just kind of turning into my buyer's agent. So every time he would take on more roles, I would increase his split. And so now he's on a 50-50 split, and he's going to come on our team as a buyer's agent full time. I just needed him to buy his house, and so he can quit his day job. And so he was wanting to come on the team full time. And I said, wait, aren't you trying to buy a house? And don't you have a W-2 job right now? Because you have to buy a house before you quit your W-2 job. And so Devin is joining the team here, and formally in something like 4 to 6 weeks, once he just went under contract. So once his closing is done, that's my team. And then your other question was, how am I building my business? Is that right?
Well, kind of what's the next 5 years look like, or the next big goal for you?
So I love that question. And if you have not heard this quote from Gary Keller, and I don't know if he copied it from someone else, but most people on this earth overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year. So their 1 year goals are way too big. 1 year is not a lot of time. That is 4 12-week quarters. I think I've got, So if you guys don't know this book, The 12-Week Year, I'm about to start this with my coach. It's by someone named, it looks like Moran and Lennington. If someone could put that in the comments, like a link, that'd be great. 12-week year. It's all about breaking down your year into 4 segments that are all 12 weeks long. And you notice that only adds up to 48. So that gives you 4 weeks of vacation, which is amazing. Who would not want 4 weeks of vacation, right? So I am trying to figure out what I can accomplish in 1 year. And then the second part of that quote is most people vastly overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year, and they underestimate what they can do in 5 years. And Gary Keller often uses that 5-year mark as a vision, because 10-year goals are 10 years is a long time. 3 years is an interesting middle ground, but 5 years is such a good time. So Becca, the short answer is I don't know yet what my 5-year goal is. That's still part of my redevelopment and redefinition of who I want to be when I grow up, is where do I want to be in 5 years? So I'm still working on that question, but I can tell you things that are a big part of that is traveling with my family, if COVID ever ends, and then owning investment properties, because I do see that, the moment that I sell my last house as a broker, that's when the money stops coming in, unless you're invested in like profit sharing or something, but or doing referrals. But investment properties pay you every single month. And so we moved out of our house. We bought our first house a few years ago. And there's actually a cool story there we bought it off market with seller financing, because I hadn't quite been a realtor for 2 years yet to have 2 years of self-employment income. And so we bought it. The sellers owned it full outright in cash. They didn't have a loan on it. So I said, hey, if you want, I can buy the house and pay the bank interest, or I can pay you interest. You'll make a lot more money. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And so, so we bought our first house like that. We lived in it about 4 years. We just moved out this spring, and that is now our first investment property. And that's been a huge learning experience. I was way more confident going into it of how easy it would be to be a landlord. And I still want to do it. I'm not like trying to get out of it or anything like that. But so that in 5 years, Becca, I would love to be a little bit more removed from the business, have more of a team established where I can really invest in people and pour into them without having to do the client day-to-day work every single day. And then having investment properties, and then being able to travel with my family more.
That is a life by design right there. So this is actually not on our list, but what is your biggest challenge in your business right now?
So aside from follow-up and for letting things slip through the cracks, it would be not time blocking. And that is something that was on Ginger's Coffee with Omega last month. She talked about time blocking and how to get started in that. And so that's something that I've been slowly implementing, and I'm trying. My tendency is to time block my entire day from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then what I realized is I just have to take baby steps to get into that. And so thank you, Megan. I see time blocking is your jam. So for me, my biggest challenge is being organized and having consistency and a routine, because when you build habits, that's another book that everyone should read that I have not even read yet. It's called Atomic Habits, but it's in my rotation to read soon. Is that, who are we? Am I like these words that I say that are super pretty and nice? And I mean, not even that they're that pretty, but what if you're a really good speaker? Is that who you are? Well, what about actions speak louder than words? So are you an accumulation of your thoughts? Is your identity this amalgamation of your habits? And that's kind of what I'm leaning toward, is because I've heard people say that you can tell everything you need to know about someone by looking at their bank account and their calendar. My bank account would tell a lot about me, because obviously it's where I spend my money. My calendar would say jack squat about me, because I barely put anything in there other than like closings and home inspections and client events and Zoom calls like this and consultations. I don't time block yet. And so for me, I want to become like, it's part of designing my life. It's all well and good to have a vision board, but what if I wake up every morning and say, yeah, today I think maybe I'll read this book for a few hours, or hey, maybe I'll go out and door knock a neighborhood. That kind of scattered approach is not going to create efficient results. And so what I'm trying to do is time block, and that will be the thing I think I'm pretty confident will unlock my next level. And so for me, it's going to start personally. Like my work is all well and good, right? But I'm not going to sacrifice everything for my work. My first thing that I'm going to time block is my personal time in the morning. So what time am I going to go to bed? That's actually where the morning starts, is with going to bed. So last night I told my wife, hey, let's go to bed by 10 tonight. She went to bed at 10. I went to bed at 11:45 because I was typing this up, but I was too excited. So I said, okay, I'll give myself one night to slip. And then after this Zoom, I'm going to commit to time blocking. So 10 o'clock bedtime. And I'm going to start with 6 a.m. Wake up time. I wake up anywhere from 6:30 to 7 usually, but I've just got to ramp that a little earlier and creating consistent morning routine. So for me, it's it really boils down into three things. It's personal reflection, personal strength, like physical, and then personal developments with reading and giving myself knowledge and content. So that personal reflection for me is going to be some sort of like journaling, or I don't care if it's the same thing every day, but I just need some sort of reflection. So it could be journaling one day, It could be silence or meditation another day. Have you guys heard of grounding or like walking outside barefooted? I had never heard of that until the other day, which sounds super cool. So if anyone does it or knows more about it, I mean, it's probably that's it. It's just
I did it this morning.
Who said that? I can't see the screen.
I did.
Sorry, I'm trying to click. Oh, Debbie, awesome. Yeah, tell us about it real quick, about grounding.
Sorry, I'm on two screens because
you're good. Go for it.
Whatever reason. So your grounding is just, I guess, is being more in touch with the earth. They say that since we started wearing rubber soles, it's actually a barrier between our bodies and the earth. They said there's some type of magnetism or something of this sort. And it's just when you make contact with the earth, say barefoot, and that's what I did this morning. It's like, it helps with like inflammation. There's other things and other, like, I guess you would so-called say miracles that's happened. I believe someone actually mentioned that in a different KWYP thing, and that's what actually I heard, and that's what I got it from. I highly suggest this of watching and kind of seeing. It's very interesting to say that people were taking this medicine prescribed by professional doctors, and it didn't necessarily work. However, when they started grounding, when they started walking for like extended periods of times, it's actually just helped with inflammation and whatever that they may have been prescribed with or diagnosed with. So it's kind of cool and interesting. And I mean, I'm getting more into cigars, so why not just like chill and ground with my wife and just smoke a cigar? So
yeah,
cool.
That's awesome. I love that. I had a friend one time when I was doing campus ministry who said that he would go outside and lay on the ground and contemplate his own mortality. And he would think about the word hummus and how the word human is related to like hummus and like this idea Hamas and like soil and natural decomposition. And I don't know all the etymology there, but there's a memento mori for you. Lay on the ground and think one day I will be absolved and dissolved into this earth. And like, how motivating is that for you just to reflect on that and then get up and say, okay, well, for the next 12 hours, here's what I'm going to do today. So thanks.
And watch the YouTube video.
Is it Jevi or Heavy? How do you say it?
Jevi, yes, sir.
Jevi. Okay, great. Thanks, Jevi. Appreciate that. So yeah, so that's one for me is like that morning routine. And so time blocking my morning routine with some sort of personal reflection. And then what was the second? Personal strength. So for me, it's exercise and physical therapy. I need to rehab my feet. One of the big things in my story, part of why I carry more weight than I wish I did is because I got really into running like almost like 9 years ago and then injured my feet. And so for the past 9 years, I haven't been able to run. And I've had limiting beliefs. Oh, I probably need surgery. Oh, I'll figure it out one day. Well, this past summer, I started going to see a physical therapist and it was fantastic. Like I was like, this is not irreversible. Like I can overcome this. It's going to take consistency and work. And so what have I done? Not done the consistency and the work, but that's something I'm committing to with you guys is doing part of my morning routine is going to be doing my physical therapy exercises, which is like stretching and strengthening my arches. Like it's nothing complicated. It's just doing it. And so, and then the next thing is after that, once I time block my morning routine, then I'm going to, and I commit to that, then I'm going to allow myself to do the business routine. I'm not going to let myself move on to that until I get my morning routine set up first. I love that Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, if you listen to the One Thing podcast, they talk a lot about you haven't earned the right yet to do the next thing. So in your business, there is probably one thing that you could do that would totally blow up your business in the best way possible. Same thing with your personal life, with your fitness, with your finances. There's probably one thing you could do in each of those. And until you master that one thing, you're not allowed to do 5 different things on your to-do list. Do that one thing. And so that's what I'm working on. I'm a very quick thinking, scatterbrained guy. So one thing is very hard for me. I probably have ADHD. I've never been diagnosed with it, but that's like that idea of like being able to focus and really master one thing before you move on to the next is not my tendency. And so I'm very hard on myself about that, but at the same time, I'm trying to give myself grace. That's just who I am. It's how I've been wired for whatever reason, for better or for worse. And so trying to work with that. So Becca, I think time blocking for me, first it was vision board. Now that I accomplished that, I'm going to work on time blocking for you guys. And I honestly share this with you guys to be transparent and open-handed. This is not something I've mastered. It's something I'm implementing today and tomorrow and the next day. And so I want you guys to check in with me and you know, Jevi, feel free, man, shoot me a text anytime and ask me how I'm doing. Ask me if I've smoked a cigar barefooted. I'll be happy to do that. That's an easy one for me to jump in on.
So it's when you mentioned the ADHD and the thing. I'm sorry, I don't want to take over your time. So
no, you're good, man.
Our coach, our productivity coach, Steve Collins, great man, voice of one. He suggests, and he said that he gave his kids, he has 7 kids now, what's called L-theanine. So basically it's a natural urban substance that's supposed to be as an actor of Adderall without saying like the addictive type of things. I was going to put into there. So I actually take it too. And I have some of our team actually takes it now as well too. So like we're kind of like just passing around. It's like, cause it's just natural, you can buy it over the counter. So L-theanine, and I'll put into the thing as well too. So because I actually almost made an appointment last week with a physician to also get looked at for like ADHD and everything. And my MAPS coach is aware of it. So,
Okay, cool.
I'm being
I've never
more
heard of
precise.
that.
Once you start doing your schedule, then your focus will actually go with your schedule too. So that's a good practice.
I feel like y'all are just like saying exactly what I'm going through too.
I love it. That's awesome. Hey, that's what it's about, Becca. Let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to encourage you guys with too, as I think about my limiting beliefs and like how I'm wired, potentially ADHD, whatever, scatterbrain, things like that. Another one for me, like I said, a limiting belief, something holding me back is my weight. Also, like get real with you guys, my teeth, like I got a gap in my teeth. That's like all these things that like when I go into an appointment, it's like I'm self-conscious about this stuff. When I come on Zoom, it's like, I wish I'd gotten braces when I was 13, or I wish I wasn't as heavy as I am now. And literally, it's so cool how timing works. Yesterday, I was reading Ryan Serhant's book. What's it called? Big Money Energy, which is like the most macho, egotistical name ever. I'm embarrassed when I have a book called Big Money Energy in a coffee shop. And so I don't even have the cover on it because it brings less attention to it. But if I could rewrite the title, and honestly, it's a title. He has to sell copies. I get it. Like no beef at all. It would be Finding Your Inner Confidence, which is probably, that would never sell any copies. So that's why I'm not writing books. But it's all about like Ryan Serhant, this guy that's, if you don't know who Ryan Serhant is, he's on $1 Million Listing. Just Google or YouTube Ryan Serhant, a million videos will come up. He's got this swagger and this confidence. And he talks about his stories of like having acne and how embarrassed he was. He went to get laser treatments for his acne to go away, things like that. And he was like, it doesn't matter if you have a gap in your teeth or if you don't, if you're overweight or you're not. There's nothing inherently wrong with those things. What matters is, do you have the confidence? So if I could be confident as a balding, overweight white guy with a gap in my teeth, then that's awesome. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And the more I talk, the more, what's up, Jebby? I like it. Yeah, there you go. The more I talk about this and you just name those insecurities, the more they go away, right? It's just like Eminem on the movie. It's 8 Mile or 12 Mile, I forget what it's called. But when they're rapping, he's getting made fun of for being the scrawny white kid. And so basically what he does is he raps it himself and makes fun of himself. And then he takes away their whole argument. And so, yeah, you can own it. But if it's not something you can own and there's no way you can get over it, then yeah, that's what you need to tackle. So for me, it's not necessarily getting braces, but for me, just being more fit and making that part of my lifestyle. Well, I know I'm going to feel better. I will not be inherently more valuable as a human being if I'm skinnier, but it's just for me. Like, I don't care what other people think of the way I look. It's the way I feel about myself. And so that's going to be, Becca, another huge thing that unlocks my life, and not just my business, but my personal confidence. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I
think we are our biggest investment. And,
yes, 100%.
I think if, whatever it is that's going to make you feel confident, go do more of that. Because it comes through whether you realize it or not. I love that. Okay, kind of switching gears a little bit more to business.
Yeah, go for it.
What are you doing to pick up listings right now?
Yeah, so trying to think of my most recent listings. For me, it's a database. Almost all my recent listings have come from past clients or just from people that I know. And so my business coach says basically there are 3 ways you can build your business. There's database, everyone has to have the same first 2. It's database, and then technology or social media. So really social media is what has replaced technology now. So it used to be things like website, stuff like that. Websites are becoming less important. Now it's your social media. And so everyone has to have a database. And honestly, you're not allowed to move on to the other 2 until you master the first one, just like that. So database, and we'll talk about that. Social media, we'll talk about that. Specifically, I would say video is what everyone needs to be doing. And then the third one for me, so once you do the first 2, database and social media or technology, then you get permission to do the third. For me, it was open houses early on, and now it has transitioned into client events. And I'll give a little bit of all this. So the reason why we start with database is those are the people who know, like, and trust you. And that's usually where your clients are going to come from. They have to have probably at least 2 out of the 3, if not all 3. They have to know you, like you, and trust you. And you guys know, I don't know if you know this, I'm never offended if someone doesn't use me as their realtor. If you're in these Facebook groups where, I'm not going to name any names on Facebook groups, but they've got like more than 100,000 people. And it's like, oh, well, my best friend used someone else as their realtor. I guess we're not friends anymore, relationship over. I'm like, okay, that's fine. If that's your attitude, that's cool. I don't agree with that, because that means my friends I'm treating them like an ATM machine who owes me money. Because if someone doesn't use me as their realtor, one of 3 things happened. They either forgot I was in the business and they would have used me if they remembered. So that's my fault, right? Or they remembered I was in the business and they didn't think I was the best choice. So they thought someone else was better. And that means I can improve and get better. And then the third one is they remembered I was in the business. They know I'm a good realtor, and they just don't want to mix business and personal for some reason. And why would you force someone to work with you if they don't want to work with you? So I'm never going to be upset when someone doesn't use me as their realtor. Now, there are times that I've been burned in the business. That's definitely true, where someone was working with me, saw multiple houses, wrote offers, and then they switched to somebody else. Now that's a different story. But yeah, if someone doesn't choose me for one of those 3 reasons, I see it as my job for people to know I'm in the business, know, like, and trust. And we'll start with the trust too. They have to trust me in 2 ways. They have to trust you that you're an ethical human being, that you're going to do the right thing. They also have to trust you that you know what you're doing. So, they might think that you're the nicest, most trustworthy person in the world, but if they think you don't know your stuff, like you don't know how to write an offer or how to negotiate, they're not going to use you. Now, they might think that you are a great realtor that knows how to negotiate, but they might not trust you and think, man, that dude is shady, or that guy's sleazy, or I just don't want to be around him, like the way he jokes or something like that. And so they've got to know you, trust you, and then like you too, is kind of what gets into that last one of trust as well. So your database of the people that already do that. And so for me, you got to reverse engineer that. Why would I choose someone? So raise your hand if you've ever switched hairdressers or car mechanics or dentists. Have you ever had a profession you were working with and you switched for some reason or another? Think about why you switched. Was it that you didn't trust them anymore, that there was someone better out there? Or did you just not like them anymore? Were they kind of just jerks? That's why I switched car mechanics. They were a great mechanic and they were centrally located, but every time I went, I just felt like a terrible human. And so I didn't go there anymore. And so how can you be the realtor that people choose? They know you, they like you, and they trust you. And that's where you need to start with your database. If you don't have a database, that's when you can go do other things. You can do open houses, you can do door knocking. And I would recommend everyone do video, because video is the best way for people to get to know you. You guys, a lot of you on this Zoom call didn't know me that well until seeing me talk for, about an hour so far. Whereas other people who know me, like they're already comfortable. And so if you're doing video, you put things on YouTube, that is lead generation while you're sleeping. Like those videos are being watched in the background. And then people are going to text you, hey, Becca, saw your YouTube video. And it's like they already know you and like you and trust you. Then you just need to do a consultation to figure out what it is that they're looking for in real estate, because they already trust you and you can basically skip so much of that process. And then another one is open houses. Again, too, like that is it's a way for you to get experience being with clients in the professional mode and that presentation. You're going to get nosy neighbors who come to, and sometimes neighbors are actually scoping out other listing agents they might want to hire. So I've actually done a listing presentation at an open house for a different house. So a neighbor came in and it was a slow open house, and we got talking and they asked me about pricing in the neighborhood, which is obviously one of the biggest questions. And they're like, oh, this is cool. We noticed you had a yard sign, and we saw something on Facebook. And I realized they were interviewing me to see how I sell houses. And then they were like, well, we may not know this. We actually were thinking about selling ourselves. And I said, cool. And it was right at the end of my open house. They came in at the very end, and I didn't need to take time. But what I told them was, cool, how about I just come over in like 15 minutes? I'll just walk over there when I got to pack things up here. I didn't really need to pack up, but what I did was I just went and typed up all the DocuSign and got it all ready. Went over to their house, toured the house to make sure it was in good condition, and we signed the paperwork. So open houses aren't just to find buyers, which is the common methodology. Remember the very first open house I ever did, I met a double, a buy sell. And so I still love open houses. They fit my personality, and it's just such a great way to meet people. So I would recommend anyone do open houses. And honestly, I don't do enough of them. And then, the third one. So I used to do more of those. Now what I'm doing more of is client events for my database. And that's an easy way for me to touch my database, because it's so funny. I'm so sociable. I love to talk, as you guys can tell, but I don't like to call people out of the blue unsolicited to talk about business. And that's a limiting belief for me. So if I don't have a reason to call them, it's very hard. But if I'm throwing a really dope party at a brewery, I'm stoked to call them. I say, Megan, how's it going? It's Patrick. We bought a house 6 months ago. We're throwing a party for all of our clients. We want to make sure you know about it. I can make that phone call all day long. And so for me, that's been kind of a hack for me to get over my lead generation limiting beliefs, while also having a lot of fun, because I love parties and I love going to events at breweries. And so I've rented out a movie theater for Toy Story 4, which was a huge event, a lot of fun. I've rented out breweries. We've done a pie giveaway at a bakery here in town. When COVID hit, I went and did a fall giveaway where I delivered pumpkins to every single client. And another one too, Becca, honestly, you killed the pop by game. So if you guys don't know what a pop by is, it's where you just pop by, drop something on the porch. Becca, when you do your pop buys, do you ring the doorbell and try to actually see them?
I used to. Honestly, now it's gotten to the point I just drop it off.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I was just thinking about that. I probably should be doing that, because I think the face-to-face interaction, and just that you can't put a, a price on that. So Jebby, what are you holding up? He's holding up a pot buy menu.
Jebby, tell us about that.
I promise there's a, sorry.
Oh, you got some echo going on.
Yeah, I got you on. Hello? Is that better?
Yep,
Yes.
You're good.
No, I can't hear you. Is that better? Sorry about that.
Yes.
I got big Patrick right here, and I have the whole squad of everybody on right here on this screen. So yeah, this is actually our pop by menu that we have, or yeah. So I know you probably can't read it in reverse, however, it goes kind of by seasons and everything like that. So if you don't know what you're gonna do, hey, we already have it for you. So a little bit, I don't know if you guys know a little bit about our team, Maloof International Group. We're at the Keller Williams Heritage Office. We're actually in our brand new office facility. I'm actually in Scott Maloof's office right now, so don't tell him.
That's
He's
awesome.
on his way. I'm already here early, so I believe there's a reason why I made it to this Zoom call as well too, because earlier I said that I wasn't able to make it because I was on a different Zoom. However, I had the time and I joined in. So thank you for allowing me to be here with you all. So basically just go to a little pop by menu. So spring pop by ideas, winter pop by ideas.
I love it.
All pop by ideas, summer pop by ideas, all stuff like that. And then you mentioned the same thing you mentioned with social media. So we have a 365-day social media content calendar. You don't know what you're going to do, and you look at the calendar and you say, hey, what's today, September, whatever it may be, this is what you're going to do on September, whatever day.
Wow. Man,
That's amazing.
Awesome. So that's when
Would you be able to share those, or is that like privileged info?
You rip off and duplicate. Gary told us to go in there and leverage. You don't recreate the wheel. You just go in there and put your stamp on it. So we do for our power consultation. We just made it on Canva and then put it out and then put our name and put our information on it.
That's awesome, Jebby. Appreciate that, man.
Yes, absolutely. I can send these to you. Well, actually, our director of operations, because I don't know where they're at.
Yeah, I love it.
That's amazing. Arnita, did you have a question?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. My hand was still up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Your just hand was raised. That's fine. I just didn't know.
I love it. We've covered most of my stuff. So honestly, Becca, if it's cool with you, I'd love to pop it open to questions before we go. And I want to invite everyone. I love to have these kind of discussions. They get me super fired up. So please like shoot me a DM if you guys want to chat offline, maybe not later today because I got a busy day, but like later this week or even next week, or set up something regular. If you guys want to do some sort of accountability around a book or around a habit or time blocking, I'm all game for that. So yeah, so I guess Becca, whatever you've got, and then we can open it up.
No, this has been amazing. I love this. We've had a lot of people on that aren't usually on, so this has been great. Do y'all have any questions for Patrick that you want to ask before we get off at 9:30? So I know we had one more question on our thing.
Yeah, go for it, Becca.
So how do you set yourself apart from other agents in your market?
So yeah, this is a really good question. I don't do a great job of it, to be honest. And it's something that I am very reflective on. Going back to how do you pick your mechanic? And when do you change your car mechanic? How do you pick your hairstylist? When do you change? What goes into that total package? How do I choose those people? So then how does someone choose me? What sets me apart, right? And I mean, I'll be brutally honest. And you ask yourselves this question: are you worthy of being hired? I see a lot of marketing fluff that says, we'll sell your home for top dollar. That's fine. Everyone says that. Everyone's good at doing that, right? What do you do? What sets you apart? Are you good at the actual transaction negotiation, pricing a property, marketing the property, communicating with agents is probably one of the things that I do best in my agent network. And yet it's one of the things that's hardest to quantify. Like agents have told me, you guys won the offer, even though you weren't the highest, Patrick, because of our level of trust in you and in your presentation and professionalism and stuff. We just had a lot more confidence you could get the deal done. But how do you say that without bragging on yourself? And so I think being brutally honest is I don't think that all agents are created equally. We obviously have a code of ethics to uphold. And I say that not to say that I'm better. There are plenty of you that are way better than I am. And so why do I get those clients? And so much of it does come down to that personal relationship and that trust. And so I think always constantly improving on yourself if you want to. I mean, again, you don't have to. This is not a judgment game. It's not a me versus you competition. It's me versus the me of yesterday. That's my only competition, is who I could become, right? And so I heard one time that someone said the definition of hell is that at the very end of your life, you have to meet and spend a day with the person that you could have become. And that just killed me, man. It's like, oof, like how much potential am I leaving on the table? And now if I want to stay this way, and that's the best person I want to become, that's awesome. Like, you don't have to change. I don't want you to hear any judgment from me if you're not out there hustling and grinding and rise and grind. You know, that's awesome. The hustle culture can be really toxic in a lot of ways too. I don't hustle just to hustle. I hustle so then I can take time off with my family. I didn't really talk about it, but my wife and my 2 little girls are by far the most important thing to me. And I'll take a day off in a heartbeat for them, even if it means I lose clients. And I've done that plenty of times. And so, I mean, not lose like active clients, but lose clients who I could have gotten if I was working that day. And so in terms of what sets me apart, Becca, that's kind of a non-answer. I've talked around it, right? Because I'm still figuring it out. But it's the whole package. It's my knowledge, my social media, things like that. And honestly, I've done like jack on social media this summer because I've been so busy with having a busier year. So yeah, that's kind of how I would answer that question, Becca. Is that a helpful non-answer for you?
That's great. That's great. Does anybody have any last questions for Patrick? This has been really great.
Yeah, thank you guys for letting me ramble just about stuff I'm learning and in the middle of processing. So if anyone's got a question, pop up, raise your hand, unmute, just speak up.
I have a quick question, Patrick. I know you did a little bit with a builder. Could you talk about how you got in with them?
Yeah, the long and short of that is, man, I had a whole paragraph on this that I haven't even talked about yet, on being ready for opportunities when they come to you. So you guys have all heard that, you know, being lucky is where opportunity meets preparation. And so I have had opportunities before that I've missed out on, and I've had opportunities since that I've missed out on, but this one just clicked at the right time. A friend of mine, Meredith, texted me and said, hey, are you interested in meeting with the builder I work for to list their stuff? And I was like, 100 times yes, absolutely, right? And then it turns out they had actually had an agent had brought them a piece of land and said, hey, here, I think you can develop this into 9 houses on a little cul-de-sac. And so they said, yeah, great. So then a year later, that agent got the listings, right? He sold 4 of them and then started spinning in his wheels. So they took 2 of the listings and gave it to the largest new construction home team in our neighborhood that literally sells thousands of new homes a year. And they didn't sell those 2 listings either. So then they were like, the builder was like, at this point, we'll just take whoever. And so my friend Meredith, who's actually now my assistant, was their marketing assistant at the time, and said, sorry, I got a bug bite on my ankle. I keep leaning down to scratch it. And she said, hey, my friend Patrick seems to be doing really well. I know him from college. He just sold a house at the same price point. And what had happened was I just like 2 weeks before had closed on a listing, and I had put together a video about how we had sold it. It had sat on the market for literally 2 years with 2 other agents. And then we sold it in 7 days, and it was priced at literally the exact same price point as this new construction neighborhood that had been sitting for 2 years with 2 other agents. And so I kind of just showed them the video, and they were like, all right, yeah, we'll give you a try. And so sold the first one, and it was really hard because it was a 2-year-old new construction listing in this market, which it was a finished, complete home that wasn't even sold for like a year after it was done. A year to build it while it was being marketed, and then a year to finish it. So we got the first one sold, and then now we're wrapping up our last one. And so Kate, to answer your question, I kind of fell into that because of a personal connection from my database. Again, there we go. She ended up approaching me to actually join my team, which is funny. I felt very awkward about hiring my client's employee, but it worked out great, and we're still working together. And so now I'm actually trying to mastermind with people. So Kate, I mean, if you've got ideas, let's work on this together and figure out how we can position ourselves to market for builders. And it's another one of those things. If you're scared, dude, just do it. Get out there, go to builders, market them, film videos at new construction neighborhoods. It can be for someone else, but then builders will see your videos and be like, wow, that person, Kate, does a really good job talking about new construction. I like the way she markets it. Let's hire her to do ours. So I would say just get out there and start doing it. Be in new construction as much as you can. Know every single on-site agent, know all the trends, know all the techniques and the materials, design selections. And the more you do it, it's just, you will be ready when that opportunity comes. Does that make sense?
That's awesome.
I know I've talked a lot, so
have
feel free to hop off. Yeah, feel free to hop off. I know some people are writing comments. Thank you guys all for the love and for spending time with me, but I'm here to hang as much as you guys want.
Hi, Patrick.
Hey.
Boa tarde.
Boa tarde, amigo.
So, if it wasn't real estate, what would you be
yes.
doing? What would you be doing? I know you love it, but
Yep.
What would you be doing if you were not?
I would probably be
cycling or what?
Oh no, I'm a cycling fan. I like to cycle, but I am not a cyclist like that. No, I would probably be a travel blogger and filming. And now that I know about videos, I would probably be a travel like vlogger, like videographer, writing reviews, meeting restaurant owners, interviewing them, putting together like, you know, here's your weekend in Lisbon or something like that for you in Portugal. And so, yeah, I just love to travel and love to share what I know. Like I always, whenever I have a friend going to a city, I love to send them my list of secrets for that city. So that's probably what I would do if it weren't real estate. That's a great question, Antonio.
Thank you, Patrick. Always great to see you. And
Absolutely.
hello, everyone. Greetings from Portugal.
Abraço.
Abraço, Patrick.
Anybody else? Jemmy?
I'll put my hand down now. Hey, Patrick, were you going, I'm not sorry, Patrick, Antonio, were you going anywhere with that when you had asked him what he would be doing outside of real estate?
No, not really. I'm just curious. I mean, you know, he's a top professional. So, I mean, I would probably ask him what more in the lines, maybe like exit plan. So maybe that's what probably in those lines. Like, so after maybe incorporating your blogging or real estate and stuff, because we always got to think about an exit plan. And I'm not sure if you talked about that, but it's always important for younger agents when they get started in the business. One of the things is thinking about, like, you know, are you going to do listing contracts, do listing agreements all the time? Or are you going to do a referral business? Or are you going to write about it, you know, or teach about it? So more along those lines. So that was it. Heavy, right? JV.
Yeah.
So
that's
an
awesome question, Antonio. And I think for me, it does boil down to that teaching and that legacy. Like I love to invest in other people. And it's what I failed at my first job out of college when I was at that nonprofit. I didn't make the transition from being the person who does the listings to being the person who teaches other people how to do it. And so part of me being on the Zoom call with you guys this morning is awesome because it lets me reflect and realize like I don't have to have that imposter syndrome. I do have value to offer. And I get so excited being with people and seeing them succeed. And so it makes sense that I would build a team, right? Or that I would start coaching or something like that. And so I've just got to really figure out my morning routine and my time blocking and get more organized to where I can run a business and run a sales team, and then also add in these other things like being a property investor and a travel blogger. Like maybe I'll start doing that. Antonio, you've heard me talk about this on Clubhouse. And so Antonio and I have met on Clubhouse. We've never met in real life, and he's amazing. So make sure you connect with him on Clubhouse. And by the way, Clubhouse and KWYP are the two biggest things that have changed my mindset this past year in business. And so yeah, it's a year and a half for YP and then about 6 months for Clubhouse. And it's not the content, it's the people. It's the being around high-minded thinkers that are just pulling me into a higher orbit. The more I hang out with them, the more Antonio, I'm like up here on Antonio's level rather than down here on my level. And so, so yeah, I would say, you know, really transitioning into figuring out how to be a leader. And honestly, I'll get one last thing that I'll share with you guys. I have for a long time thought that you're either a leader or you aren't. And that's not true at all. It is just like anything else. It is a skill you can acquire, and it is just practice and time on task. And it's books. It's why I've got all these books here. And so I would encourage you guys, just do it. If it's leadership, read a book on it. If it's new construction, Kate, get out there and just do it. Just start showing up and it's going to happen. And so whatever it is that you have, that, like when I think of what is that thing you wish you could do? Like when I ask you, close your eyes, everyone, I know everyone has something. What's that thing you've been too scared to jump out and do? I think about pursuing it. What's one little step you can take today toward that goal? Maybe it's asking someone out on a date, you know, like it could be anything in your life that you know might unlock something that you've been hesitant about doing. Just do it. It could be having kids. It could be going on a listing appointment, any number of things. And if you want to chat with me about that offline, I would be more than honored to be trusted with what your dreams are and help you try to figure out what the one single step is you can take today or next week to get closer toward that goal. So I don't know, maybe that's a good place to end it, unless someone else has questions.
Arnita did ask a question.
Oh yeah, what's up, Arnita?
I know you do events to touch your database. How else are you touching your database and generating leads, and how often are you touching them?
Yeah, so easy question or easy answer, because I'm not touching very much. I need to do a better job on social media. That's going to be my first line of defense. That way, because people can check that at any time, right? If you check my Instagram, I think the last picture I posted is from a Yankees game, like in June. I need to be posting more regularly. I need to be going live. Because people, that is the new touch, right? Especially during COVID. How much more are we on our phones and virtual during COVID? And so I don't do like regular client calls. I don't do Keller Williams says this DT, D2. do the database twice, where every day or every week you're doing 2 letters of the alphabet. So if today the alphabet is A and K, I'll hit up Antonio and Kate, and it could be a phone call or it could be a text. So Arnita, thank you for the question. I don't do it well enough. I'm just going to point you back toward the KW resources or any other resources if you're not with KW. I'm happy to send you some resources offline on how to touch your database more regularly. Javi, what's up, man?
Actually, to go back and feed off of what Antonio had asked you.
Yeah.
Keller always talks about begin with the end in mind. What you would do alternatively is nothing, because you're a real estate agent. You have to wrap your mindset around all you are as a real estate agent. And if you say like you want to travel and like do some of the stuff like reviews and whatnot, I would dive into that with your real estate. Be that source. Be like, hey, this is your realtor, Patrick, Raleigh, North Carolina, coming to you from this restaurant right here. If anyone's looking to move into the area, this is a great place to come check out. So, and then when we do something like that for our team, what we do is, if we're doing a mega open house somewhere near, say a mom and pop shop, we'll actually go over there and say, hey, we're doing a mega open house. If you mind if we advertise here? Also, if we can get maybe like a $50 gift card, we'll raffle away at the open house, because we get anywhere from 40 to 50 people into our open house.
That's awesome.
To benefit you as a local restaurant. So it's like giving back that way. So it's always about with them, what's in it for me? We're going to help you market your restaurant, and then we're just going to, of course, just be here as an asset for you at this open house to help you as well, people. So let's work together as partners. So I think you should definitely put that into what you, it sounds like you're passionate about it and that's what you want to do. So I would go into that and go to these restaurants, lead the reviews, use the command app, the little snapshots.
Ooh, yeah. And I don't lean into the Keller Williams tech nearly enough. So I appreciate that reminder. That's good.
I don't either. So, I mean, I'm just know that it's in there. However, for that thing, however, like you kept crashing, bugging, and I mean, that's a whole different subject. However, I don't dig into that. However, I do dig into my social media because that's what I'm more passionate about. I'm more passionate about being in front of people because I'm a high I, I'm also a high D. Self too, you're teaching, and what you're doing while you're teaching is you're growing yourself as well too.
Yeah, awesome.
Yourself. And what our team lead Scott Miller always says is that you have to make sure that your audio matches your video. So I've been practicing that. I've been really focusing on that. I was gonna hit you up after this because I took a self-mastery class yesterday with some of the agents on our team. And there's tendencies of greatness that and the first one that actually hit me was what you mentioned earlier. And the first one is self-esteem. And I think that we can kind of balance on each other for that and to help build your confidence, because your confidence will be more so into when you're leaning into something you're passionate about with these events and with the local restaurants and everything. So you can still be that little travel blogger, however you're doing it in the outskirts of Raleigh, North Carolina. And like I said, make that your domain. So that way you can put that passion into your real estate. So then it's not about real estate, it's about helping people or helping people about this certain restaurant.
Awesome, man. So I want to thank you for that reminder, because something I didn't talk about at all is I've hired a videographer and we've been producing content. We haven't started releasing it yet because we want to have about 7 or 8 videos lined up to where we can drop it every week. But literally he just sent me the first rough draft and it's me interviewing a coffee shop owner here in Raleigh. And it's so funny that like I'm kind of doing that accidentally, but I don't want to just be a video, like a realtor on YouTube that's like, check out this beautiful listing with 4 bedrooms and 3 baths. Like anyone can do that, but no one can be me. And so no one has my connections in Raleigh. Not that I have the most, but like the ones that I do have, like telling the story of what Raleigh is in the market. So I'll show you guys a quick little preview if you want. It's on my phone right here. So this is what, let me get it to where there's no glare. This is what, oops, where's the button? This is what the content is going to look like. You can also see what I look like when I'm professional. I'm not, oops, if you can see, there we go. Dressed up in an actual suit. Sorry, it's like a mirror image, so I couldn't figure out which way to do it. But yeah, so thanks for the reminder, man. I'm really, really stoked to release this. It's been a big thing that I've had a lot of limiting beliefs, man. Talk about being embarrassed to come on a Zoom call because I'm too bald and overweight. Like putting yourself on video on YouTube, like that's a lot more permanent. I know, right? So like you said, though, that self-mastery, it really is a self-confidence. What if I don't get any more clients out of all this investment in myself and fitness and morning routine? I'm still going to have a way better life if I'm more confident, like even if it doesn't translate into more business. And so do it for yourself before you do it for anyone else. Do it for yourself first. If you have people, everyone has someone who loves them, right? So then do it for the people who love you. Let that be your next. If you can't keep yourself motivated, share it with the people who love you and let them know what you want to grow into, and they will keep you motivated. And if they don't, then you need to find more people that will do that. Let me be that for you if I can. And then thirdly, it'll translate into more business and it's going to continue growing. So thanks, Jevy. Appreciate that, man.
Are you sending client videos?
Like sending videos to clients?
Like video texts?
Not video text, like bomb and stuff like that. But I'm starting to do more videos, and yeah, just on my iPhone, just text it to them.
Like,
what's going on, Dream Team? Jeff Regadio here, Blue National Group, just checking to make sure that home are still here.
did I turn it up?
That's awesome, man.
So it's just sending the client video and like little updates and everything that our coach does. And it's because you're a high I, and again, like I said, you feed off of that. And I feel like your energy,
for sure.
And I feel like you should do something like that to your clients and or your past clients. If you don't like calling them or like a weird text, just like shoot them a video real quick. It's like, hey, it's Patrick Realtor. Just want to see how y'all doing on this beautiful day.
Yeah, dude. And I've done that a few times, but it's more so with like other realtors from like Clubhouse. Like, oh, I heard you speak on Clubhouse this morning about this hard situation. Let me encourage you. And I get so much good feedback when I send video text. So I need to do that with my clients. So thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Today, I'll hold you accountable. I'll shout you my number. I'll hold you accountable. I'll shoot my client one, and then we'll shoot the videos to each other to hold each other accountable.
Please do. Thanks, Kate. I saw you got to hop off in the chat. Thank you so much for being here and for your question. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. I think, is it a good time to wrap up?
Yeah, that's great. Let's let everybody go. I've talked enough.
No,
Thank you guys so much.
It's been great. Thank you so much for doing this, Patrick.
Oh my gosh, guys, seriously, it's really an honor. I don't feel like I need to be up here, but it means a
You
lot to you guys.
absolutely need to change your mindset around that.
I know, I do. You're right. Absolutely right.
You deserve to be there.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Lots of love. We'll catch you soon. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everyone. Abrazo, Patrick.
Abrazo, amigo.
Abrazo.